exit at the end.
Okay. Welcome to the Outer Realm, everyone. Happy Wednesday. We are broadcasting live here on the International Public Radio and United Public Radio Network 105.3 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing folks over at Folgers Coffee, who have been with us from day one. So we love you, Folgers, and we are so happy to have you as part of our journey. Also, a big thank you to Dr. Snick, aka Justin Snicker, for his contribution of time and music for the intro and outro. He is an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music. His music is available on Bandcamp, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, and most streaming platforms. So check him out and show him some love. So tonight we are welcoming for the very first time our friend Michael Angley, a colleague and host here at the United Public Radio Network. And we're going to be touching on a few different things this evening. One, coping with the loss of loved ones during the holidays and how the paranormal and mindset actually fits into holiday time. Lots to cover in there. So hopefully we'll be able to get to it. And of course, your comments and stories are always appreciated. In order to participate in the show, you will see that we are on several different, I'm going to put them down right here so I can remember. We're on several different platforms. We've got International Public Radio YouTube. We've got UFO Paranormal Radio YouTube. We have UFO Paranormal and United Public Radio on Facebook, Outer Realm Facebook. Joe Montaldo UFO Undercover on Facebook, Canada's Most Haunted on Facebook. We've got UFO Paranormal on Twitch. So hello. News on the flip side also. So you have a whole array of places to communicate. But of course, if you want something ASAP, tag Amelia if she can see you on where UFO Paranormal is where you're at, Amelia. Yes.
Yep.
Okay, that sounds really good. So
well, I can see all of them, but I
oh, good. Okay,
I can see
perfect.
all of them.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's perfect. So yeah, just go at it for a bit. So yeah, there we go. So
yeah, it's
how's it going?
beginning to look a lot.
It's going.
Christmas.
Yeah. No. It's going. It's not going.
What's going?
Yeah, right. Hard day. It is one of those days because we can't even
for both of us
properly. I know.
For both of us. And I might be on a lag because I actually don't have internet. I'm using my cell phone through my computer for this. That's how much I love you guys. I'm just saying. But yeah, wires down. It's just like the tip of the iceberg on the day that
one of those days. I know. I'm sorry. It's terrible.
I think it should be there should be a warning about being out during the few days right before, the wee hours before Christmas. There should be some kind of road rage warning. And
it's chaos. I know it is. It's chaos. Hey, Zach, man, see it hiding way up there. First on the screen. There we go.
Always. I just waved. I gave him that.
So, do we want to go over a short version of Michael's amazing bio?
extensive bio that he submitted. Yep. Yes, we have a short version, thank God. He is a very dear friend of both of ours and a host at this network at UPRN. He's a producer and host of 2 shows, The Red Pill News and Discovery Paranormal. He is also a news analyst, researcher, and author, a dedicated paranormal investigator, and a stand-up improv comedian. Bet you didn't know that. Calls himself a stand-up improv philosopher. Please give him a warm welcome and please participate to our dear friend Michael Angley tonight, who said he'd be on camera and chose not to.
I just can't make the camera work. I gotta go buy a new laptop. I've been kind of putting it off, but
yeah. Well, you might get some sales on now that it's Christmas and Boxing Day and all that jazz,
Well, yeah, after all the suckers out there get past Christmas, waste their money. And
what's left? I'll take what's left.
Yeah,
you go on Boxing Day. You go on Boxing Day online and you order your laptop.
Exactly. Okay. Boxing Day. That's right. That's where we go to Canada with boxing gloves and we knock people out in Toronto. Boxing Day.
What?
I'll look up Robbie Thomas Goes House and just kind of
He doesn't live in Toronto.
That's right.
I don't know why he tells people that. He's not in
Oh.
Toronto. He's in Sarnia. Just saying.
I'll track through the woods and be like, "Hey, happy Boxing Day."
Yeah.
Of
Wow.
course, we love everybody on UPRN, and it's awesome you guys have me on. I'm very honored to be in the
Thank you.
hot seat.
I
Haha.
have a feeling we won't need to speak tonight, but
Yeah. No, we're happy to have you on. We thought, you
yes.
know what, trying to keep things, I say lighthearted, but I think this is the time of year where there's the mindset is just a little bit different. And
You
it's,
mean it sucks? Is that
well,
what you're trying to say?
we've had a crazy couple of years, you have to
Oh yeah.
admit it, right? We've had a crazy couple of years, and there's just been a lot of like some places are allowing gatherings to share. Some places are limiting it, like ourselves. We're very limited. A lot of people have had losses, and a lot of people, I don't know. It's mindset. What I'd like to do tonight, you can decide where you'd like to start, but I'd like to talk about. I listened to part of your show while I was able last night, and I really really like to try to continue on from some of that. Losses during the holidays. How do you handle it? What's the best way to handle it? Then working, because sometimes that leads into mindset and paranormal, and sometimes things coming in and sadness. And so I figured, because you and Amelia have both recently, gone through your own losses, that maybe you'd like to share how you guys are feeling, or how you guys, especially because Amelia's already been through one holiday, right? So this is like round 2 for her. So
Last year was a blur though, because we buried him just a few weeks before, so it was a blur.
yeah,
But yeah, it feels
yeah,
like the first. For Michael, it's very fresh.
mm-hmm, yeah,
Every day for me is heavy, so the
Yeah.
holidays it just compounds it, you know.
right,
And I'm actually working through the holidays.
right,
I decided to stay focused on what I'm doing, and not to think about it anyway. But you can't not. I mean,
mm-hmm,
so but I mean, my mom didn't raise any sucker, and she didn't raise me to be weak. And I certainly know she'd be unhappy if I was unhappy. So,
mm-hmm,
and grieving, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard. And it's
mm-hmm,
actually a negative thing. I mean, it's good for a short time, but it can go into overtime and drag you into depression. And then I went through all I was angry, I was hateful at times, different stuff, and like just the whole medical system, and
mm-hmm.
everything that they didn't do, and even to her oncologist, who couldn't even reach out to my sister or I to say I'm sorry, or you have my condolences. Nothing, nothing. And
So it's
we
very
met.
insensitive and cold.
Oh
we
wow.
we met with him for 3.5 years, and had meetings in a tiny office, and we were very familiar with one another. For him not to do that, that just put the icing on the cake for me when it comes to who wants to die in a hospital bed somewhere,
Yeah,
you
that's
know
cold.
and
Mm-hmm,
have
Yeah.
these people, where she finally passed. What Those people were very nice. She was there for 5 days because she had went into a nursing home for a short time, only a couple days in a nursing home, and then she was real bad off, and they shipped her off to that hospital. And they were so kind, so nice to her, and
mm-hmm,
they sent my sister a card afterwards, and all the doctors made a point of saying, "I'm very sorry. There was nothing we could do. I'm very sorry." Like, you
mm-hmm,
know, so that gives you faith. But yeah, it's the holiday season, and it sucks. It sucks. It sucks. It sucks from one
mm-hmm,
end of it to the other. There's no other way to say it.
mm-hmm,
My show
Yeah.
last night, talked about holiday visitations, and
right.
basically how when you're partying is kind of when they like to come in, and your relatives, friends, or whatever come visit you. You're right, and there's a
But
lot of.
it's kind of like showing that they don't really miss a beat, like they're pretty much still involved in your life.
I got my best photos ever. It was during Christmas for the guy, and it was an apartment building in Ithaca that had just been built a couple years before, so it wasn't like it was tied to the place. The picture is so good; he was able to identify that it was his aunt, and actually, after we came back and showed him, he dug out a picture of her from the '50s and showed us that picture, and it was exactly her in that photo. very cool. But that was during the holidays, and he said when the holidays happened, things weren't active. His
Mm.
keyboard was typing. The keys were typing, but it wasn't typing anything in particular. So that was kind
Yeah.
of cool.
Wow.
Yep. And,
Mm.
and also the guy's friend, really good friend of his, killed himself during,
Oh God.
like, right before that Halloween. That's when we went in, and the guy, he tried to kill himself multiple times,
Mm.
slashing his wrists with glass and all that. He ended up hanging himself in this person's front yard.
Oh.
They were out of town for those weeks. People thought it was a Halloween decoration. How crazy is that? So the guy
Mm.
dangled there for over a week. Ugh.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
That's terrible.
horrible.
That's
So
terrible.
he came through during that session, and I even have him an EVP. Just was real good. And the guy, the David, he was able to kind of feel out what the guy wanted. And what the guy wanted simply was for David to go to his professors at Cornell, because they were both grad students, and say, hey, I really love you, and whatever, and that type of stuff. And David was like, how am I going to do that? And I said, just go and say the guy appreciated you. He cared for you, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just, you don't have to say that, he came through as a ghost and said, do this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that was a great investigation. I showed you guys those photos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I could probably send it. I don't know if you have them still, but man, it was like, wow.
Yeah.
They were great shots.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I saw them, I was blown away. And I like to, so in investigations, I like to play with light. And we used a hunting camera that was not infrared, and we used an ultraviolet light bulb, and
Mm-hmm.
and we had shining the light on that area. I had kind of a thought of, you play with different lights, not like a camera that can detect, like
Mm-hmm.
like an infrared camera that's built.
Right.
That's a very narrow range of infrared, if you know anything about lighting, right? But
Mm-hmm.
if you use a bulb, it sheds the light on that area. So, and man, we got those two photos. Oh my God.
Wow.
You can see her eyeballs, basically. I mean, that's
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
crazy. And in one photo, look, my friend Pete was putting the recorder down on the desk. She's standing right in front of him where there's a desk. And she's like right in his face. And he was like, oh, I'm like, did you feel anything? He's like, not a thing. I'm like, oh man. Because she
Mm-hmm.
was like, if you see the photo, you're like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why I do this.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, being an investigator myself, it's all about assisting people, whether you're assisting the living or whether you're assisting, the dead who need assisting. So it's quite fascinating. It's quite fascinating to see the technology of it all. But it's interesting to see how spirits who are stuck just sit there, like you're talking about a suicide. Do you find that when you were speaking with this gentleman that he was still, I mean, think about the mindset he must have been in, to take his own life in the first place. Was he still in that mindset?
we had taken a flashlight. We do a thing with this flashlight where you make it super sensitive on the back. So if there is something that could manipulate it on that level, they do, and they turn it on and off. And been
Yeah.
very successful. Not random on and off either. This is like intelligent back and forth. When
Right.
David was talking to the flashlight, the guy who killed himself, that thing, when he hit on the right things, that thing was flashing like crazy, man, like
Mhm.
strobing and doing his business. When he finally said, okay, I'll do these things, the light went off and never came back on again. That was
Wow.
awesome. But suicides,
Mm.
it's misplaced energy, and
Mhm.
if they have unfinished business, especially, they're gonna be earthbound, and
Mhm.
that could cause all kinds of. It depends on the emotion at the time, and
Mhm.
a lot of things factor in.
Yeah, well, grounded spirits are much different than, ascended spirits. I mean, I had one of my first sightings as a child at the Christmas holidays at my grandparents' house,
Hmm.
and seeing a spirit man, in period clothing. But I mean, I come from that kind of a family where it's like, oh, okay. And my grandparents are bringing out pictures. Do you see the man in the pictures? And I was able to identify him. I was probably 4 or 5. And it was a matter of, oh, yes, it ended up being my grandfather's brother who had
Mhm.
passed away. So, it's sort of fascinating. It's sort of, and he wasn't stuck. I mean, he was full of light. And I think they do just come around and say hello. We're still very much a part of all the festivities, and we're still here. I just want to get to Zach's comment, and then Amelia, I want to address you.
Oh
So,
my gosh, address me.
this holiday season has been rough. My business partner and good friend passed away on December the 3rd. As a result, my other business partner and I decided not to open the cigar lounge that we were planning. But
That's
maybe
really sad. I'm
maybe he
sorry
would
for your
want you
loss.
to open it. Maybe he would want you to forge ahead. Zach,
I
right?
understand, Zach, because
Yeah.
you feel like you're missing that energy. But honestly, the best thing you can do, from what I'm gonna say, I'm reading in quotation marks because I don't want anyone to think I'm reading or doing readings tonight,
Yeah.
is that he wants you to go forward with that vision for him. So think about
Well, it's the
that.
right
There.
time. It's got to be the right time, right? I mean,
Right time.
you,
But you
you
know
know,
what? He'll be there.
yep.
Absolutely.
He will be
When
there.
things
Absolutely.
are
He just
brash, it's difficult to motivate yourself. Just when you lose someone, especially if they're close to you, very difficult to motivate yourself.
I know. And sometimes you have to reach out to things like that to motivate yourself and continue living. With every death, there's a different experience. I've often said this. When my mom passed away, I was, I don't even want to get into the details of it because I don't want to go off topic, but it was different.
Mm,
Losing a child was different, a baby, sorry. And losing my brother shortly after that, and then my dad all the years later, has affected me even more profoundly than my mother at 27. And so you just, everything's different. But I can tell you that, look, when I look at it, I always found a silver lining in every loss. I learned valuable lessons from each passing. They
mm,
gave me so much, and it's so important. And I especially learned to live through my brother's loss, if that makes sense, because my brother lived well. He worked hard, he played hard, he had great balance, he was just amazing. And you really take from that.
mhm.
I hope
It's
it helps.
important to
Yeah,
lead a worthy life,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's
We-
as simple as that. No matter what that means to that individual. Like Buddha said, go out and we're all on our individual journey. So sometimes we journey together, right? Sometimes it crosses, our paths cross and all those things. But it's about you being content. You
mm,
know, that's more like it. And then of course, when you love other people, and what happens to them impacts you too. When you lose one, it's
mm.
very heavy. And right there at the end with my mom, the last few days, she was calling out to her mother, my grandmother, and then her grandmother, my great grandmother, like just sitting up in bed and yelling out to them, like mom, doing
Well,
that.
there's the theory that they can see them, right?
Well, they finally came through that
Right.
last maybe a day and a half before she died.
Mm,
And my sister had been there a lot more than me because I couldn't get off of work. And she's finally, and she was having conversations with other people who were there. And my sister's like, she's talking to Myrtle. She's like, who's Myrtle? I'm like, I have no idea. And then when I went to the hospital, mom was pretty coherent at that point. And I said, Mom, who's Myrtle? And she said, oh, it's Ted's daughter. That's her. My grandmother's brother was Ted, you
mhm.
know, so his daughter,
Right.
and it's
So her
like,
cousin.
Yeah.
yeah, and you know, it's just interesting that
Hmm.
she was having conversations with people. That's not the only time I've ever heard of that. Years ago, I had a friend, and she had an aunt who was passing away. She was really, up there and pretty much at the end. And the last two weeks, like she was being taken care of by my friend's grandmother. The last 2 weeks, she was surrounded by people in her room, laughing, having conversations. I
Mhm.
haven't seen you in years. Oh my God.
I've seen it
Like,
firsthand. It's fascinating.
Mhm.
and, you know, I don't know how you could say, well, it's their brain deteriorating. Of course it is. Of course,
Mm.
your body's gone at that point. But spiritually, the things that you experience and what you relay out there. And you know
Mhm.
what's really messed up? Like when I saw her, it was the last time that actually I saw her with my eyes. This song got into my head from Missing Persons. Destination Unknown, right?
Right.
And it's not really a band I listen to at all. It's an 80s band, just something that kind of, whatever was on the radio, if that was that. So I know the band. That song was in my head. Somebody put it there and it just kept playing and playing and playing to the point where I actually had to listen to it multiple times just to kind of cry to it and listen.
Mhm.
Release.
Mhm.
What's helping you?
Mm. It's it's never, super easy. Whenever I've lost people, I haven't really lost someone super close to me in a really long time, but I did lose my two best friends fairly, close together, and have had multiple experiences with them. And I think because they didn't pass really close to the holidays, I had a lot of time to take those experiences for what they were, do my interacting, work it out. But it's a lot different. Like, I can't imagine doing it with a parent or a child. Like, I haven't encountered that as of yet, So, I mean, I think it would be a lot different for me with that kind of a loss.
Especially the work that we do and in the
Yeah.
paranormal world and all that stuff means nothing when you're faced with it and you can rationalize it later, I guess, you know, but
Mhm.
it's just a huge void that is you can never fill. It's just that's what it is. And that everybody I know who lost family members like that, their mother, their father, doesn't matter how long it's been, they still kind of feel the same way. And
Mhm.
that feeling never really goes away, and you just miss them all the time. You
Mhm.
know, even when I got a big promotion and all that, I want to call my mom.
Mhm. That's normal, though.
That's very normal
That
to
was
pick up the phone. I
was my
have dreams that I'm
impulse.
visiting my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's no matter what we do, because like you say, working in this field for years and years now, I've been working, in a way in bereavement in many, many different situations. And I've seen grieving, I've seen it do some pretty amazing things for people, just getting through the process. I've seen horrific things come from it because it's just open doors, because people want an experience so desperately. I've never been faced with that myself. I like to think that when the time comes, because it will, at some point it will, that I would be better prepared for it, but are you? Like, I look at Amelia, who's very gifted,
Thank you.
talks to dead people all the time. And how do you handle that, Amelia? Well, yeah, because I mean, you can't just look at him and go, "Hey, how's it going?" It's like, we're chapter today. but
Yeah.
but does that ease it for you at all, or does
No.
it make it worse in a way?
No, it makes it worse because when my mom passed away, I was expecting my first child, which I lost a few months after she passed away. So I was shut down completely. So I didn't converse. I actually didn't get a visitation that I could actually say I was wide awake and saw her till almost 17 years later. And it was in front of my house, and I saw her outside the window where I expect her to be because
Mhm.
she loved gardens and flowers, and she would always be adjusting mine. And I saw her, but she was like fully well dressed. So with her, I know what it feels to lose. The funny thing with her is she passed away on a Friday at 20 after 12.
Mhm.
just after noon. And every Friday, I could tell you it's 12:20 without looking at a clock. Just for years, I could do that. And I know that's partly my gifts. I was, using that as a connection with her. I was going to what I felt was necessary for me to the cemetery at that point. But no, it doesn't make it easier. It's hard because you're frustrated because you can't hold them, you can't embrace them.
That's a physical aspect.
It's a physical loss.
Right.
And I remember when my dad passed, and my dad lived a long, full life. And I remember hearing him constantly, and I would say goodnight to him every night for the first couple months, and I would hear him talk to me. Like right next to me, kind of talk to me. And I was comforted by that. But the rest of the day was like mourning like anyone else would mourn. I know they say, well, you're so fortunate you can talk to him. Well, I can't pull him out of a hat. I can't talk to him unless he comes to me. I will never pull him forward because I don't want to do that unless I need him. I don't want to. I know you don't take them away from anything, but yet I feel like from my beliefs, he's with my past loved ones, and I don't want to take that from them either. It's really strange. I feel like he's moved on. I do understand that, but I miss him in the physical sense. I miss his voice. And his voice is different spiritually. It's softer. I know it's him. I can hear him. It is his voice, but it's not the same as here. And you have to get through. We're still humans, even though we're living, we're the spirit living in this human body. We still have all those human emotions, regardless of how gifted or intuitive you are.
And
but
a year later,
that those are hard to shoot. A year later, and
you're
it's
a year
still,
later now. Yeah. How
it feels
how
like
does it
yesterday.
differ?
With
Really?
him, it's just different. My dad was my best friend, and I grew up in Toronto, and I moved him from Toronto closer to home, and I took care of him the last 3 years of his life, which was the biggest gift I ever received. I'm very grateful for it, but I also had to watch him decline from this very strong, brilliant man who, with a second, maybe partial of a third grade education, had 86 employees, in his 40s, an immigrant without the language and all the success that he had, to wither away to this little physical sense, but spirit was still beautiful and large. And what I'm trying to do, because last year we buried him December 2nd, so it was just, I had to move him again. So it was just like the mundane, the stuff that you have to do when someone passes away and you're an executor. That stuff stops you.
Well, it stops your grieving for a little bit, right? Like you've
very
got to
much
get
so.
through the
The pandemic doesn't help. But I kept trying to find things that I was grateful for. I was grateful that I could bury him because we were going through a very uncertain times. A lot of people lost their loved ones and couldn't even physically bury them for months. So I find that you really have to push yourself to look for the best and be grateful for what you did have, especially now, if you lose someone in these times. You have to be grateful if you're able to be there with them.
We always talk about there's no time limit on grieving.
No, but see, it's different for me
But
this time.
people
It's
expect
harder.
there to be.
Yeah,
they expect there to be a time limit.
They have a lot of expectations. They don't get it. My dad was 90. They don't get it. I'm like, there's no age for you when it's a parent. And I always say to them, I hope that you don't ever feel that kind of pain, that you deal with it differently than I do, because also what they have to understand, I was 27 when my mom died. I was 33 when my brother passed away. I lost a child in between that. I've had a lot of losses at a young life, a young cousin who was child molested and tortured and then dismembered. I was 18. You have to realize that every loss is different. And Yeah, it definitely stops you. That's right, Virginia. You keep
Yeah.
going, and then one day grieving creeps up on you unexpectedly. I have good and bad days. Michelle can tell you because she hears
Mm,
them. So sorry, Zach. He lost his paternal grandfather the day after Christmas. Did something specially to memorialize him, but I didn't reveal it till after Christmas.
I,
That's what you have to do is
yeah,
stuff
for
like that.
your own peace of mind. It's a way to do it.
Yeah. But
Um,
we have traditions in my family that my father started. When my mom passed away, we always had a place for her at the table and we spoke to her.
mhm,
My dad was, the funny thing is, my mom was the gifted one, but my father was the open one.
right.
So, you know, and we did it with my brother, and I still do it when we're all together. And I think it's really important because they're still there for me. And that's the advantage. I always say it's an advantage, but it's a perk of the gift is
Mm,
that I can have that communication with them and see them. But I get glimpses, but so do you out there listening. You just don't realize it. You second guess it. They always come forward and visit us during the holidays. They always come. You'll either sense some comfort or peace in a silent moment. You take a moment to yourself, you take a deep breath, and you think of them, and you would be shocked at what comes to you. And that, my dear, is your gift. So you
mhm,
have to just be silent during the holidays and don't don't cry. Don't nothing. It's almost like a meditative moment. Just take that moment, take a deep breath, and wait for it. And I promise you, you will have a message. Oh, Patricia McDonald,
very
Melanie lost
sorry,
her baby girl in
Patricia.
November. I am so sorry.
So
I made
sorry.
ornaments with feathers for angel wings, and we honor her every year. I am so
Oh,
sorry.
yeah,
My mom lost a child, and that's just so difficult. I'm so sorry.
yeah, yeah. It is. Oh, here we'll give something
Oh,
a
hi,
little more cheery.
Wayne.
Hi, Wayne. Little off topic. Merry Christmas to you all from Team Templar
Merry
North
Christmas.
America. Great gift to care for a father in the last days. I've lost a brother and brother-in-law in a month.
Oh my
Your
gosh,
loss
I'm
is a
so sorry.
difficult road to travel. May the Creator keep you covered with His wings and grace and give you peace. Thank you,
Thank
and
you.
right back
I just
at you,
cried.
my
Thanks, Wayne.
friend.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh. Yeah,
So,
it's they're all difficult, but like I said, the medium has the human experience instead of what
mhm,
you would think happens.
right. And why do I have a private chat? I can't get a word in.
Who said
I'm
that?
sorry. No, it's
You
who
do
is
have
that?
a guest. I think like I've been sitting here like this is the longest I've ever been quiet in my entire life.
And we're very proud of you.
You should practice it, Michael.
I even
It
talk
looks
in my
good on
just
sleep.
you.
just jump in, Michael. Just jump in.
This is
Did you
supposed to be a
not hear the
light-hearted
introduction?
show about
Did you
hey
not hear
man.
the introduction? She said both of us.
Yes.
So so
Well,
like
because you both suffered, the losses. And she's a year later and still grieving, and you're still coming on to your first holiday. But you also, what I want to ask you is, you also work in a field where are you witnessing a lot of passings with,
can't, can't talk
I
about
don't want
any
to just say
aspects
what
of
you
my
do because I
job.
don't know if I'm allowed to say what you do, but I just,
I
yeah,
can't talk about any aspects of it.
yeah, that's
But
what
the
I'm saying. So
but but I mean, as for the shows go, the show that I did last night was about holiday. People coming around during the holidays. People ask me all the time, just like you guys. I lost a loved one. What's the best way to reach out to them? What's the best way to, to try to make that communication or have that experience? And I'm like, you know what? Share the stories, the good moments. I remember this. It was so great. Laugh and have a good time.
Yes.
Bake something that they used to bake, do something that they used to do that they introduced to your world that was so important to them. It's honoring the people that you love that have passed and also honoring yourself at the same
Yep.
time. So like
Yep.
with my coworkers, I find myself sharing stories about my mom that there's just stuff this time of year. She used to make this cornucopia out of bread, right? And
Mm.
she put the fruit and stuff in. Well, but you could eat the whole cornucopia, and she was so creative with everything that she always did. And one person that I work with, he just lost his mom in June. So,
Oh,
and the guys around my
yeah.
age, and it's kind of like, wow. And I
Mm,
feel like the more you run into that, and the more you share those stories, that it makes it like you don't feel so alone. But
Well,
like I said, that impulse when I want to call my mom and, hey, guess what? And then you can't,
mhm.
because they're not there.
that's
So
that's the toughest thing, right? You got your promotion. Anything happens, anything goes well. I would tell him everything, and I'm sure you were the same way with your mom. And one of the hardest things is I can't pick up that phone. And
that
then
was my
being in
impulse
this,
to go call her.
yeah,
You know,
exactly. And then being in this field, people say, "Well, you can talk to her. Like, why aren't you?" It's not that simple,
you want the
you
back
know.
and forth.
Yeah,
I don't want to talk to mom
yeah.
through
Well,
dowsing
sometimes you
rods or
just need
anything.
a hug, you
I,
know?
Yep.
yeah.
Like, you wanna just be
And we're in
told it's
lockdown, so I
okay.
can't hug you.
Yeah, like,
You
it's
know?
okay, you know?
Oh,
Do you know what I'm noticing right now, and I don't know about you guys? I don't actually spend a whole lot of time on social media, but when I am on there, which is a short period of time every day, I'm noticing that people are there's a lot of losses happening out there
Oh,
pets
right now. Like,
too.
I see it in the stream, and
Yeah.
it's
My mom, my dad, I'm pleased for prayers. I can't believe how many
it's
prayers.
everywhere. Yeah,
And pets, people are losing pets. You have to remember, pets are like our babies, you know.
yeah.
I can't even read them because I'm a very strong empath. So like I cry at the drop of a
I
pin.
just I
And
just wanted to make mention of it because,
yeah,
I can't communicate with all of the amount of people on my feed, like my friends list and group pages, but I am sorry for all of your losses. I wish I could comment independently, for everyone, but I am sorry for all of your
yeah, there's a
losses.
lot, isn't there? I've noticed it
There
too.
is,
yeah,
yeah,
A lot.
yeah.
Pets,
And
people.
and a
yeah.
lot what I've noticed this year is a lot of young people. And I don't know if it's just because we have so many people on our social media that the greater chance of having deaths and seeing this is more. But there's been a lot of people in the paranormal who passed away this year,
That's
young
true.
people, a lot, and just recently as well, and
That's
a lot of
true.
sick people. And it's just like, oh my lord, uh
Yeah, so the 3 of us notice, and we all have a lot of friends on social media. So we are sorry for your loss,
yeah,
and I know there's no way of saying, and of course we have Carl Cookson, who's a regular on the show, who's just lost his mother a few days ago. So we
yeah,
we we
Sorry to
extend,
hear it.
yeah, thank
unfolding,
you.
yeah.
Yeah, it's very devastating. It's devastating at any time, but during the holidays is
There's
really
just
hard because
more,
you know
yeah,
well,
there's more.
you're preparing for a holiday, for a
Well,
Well,
time of
you know what
thanks.
is what's left. What's left? I mean, yeah. If you go into, if you move on from the depression and the grieving and all that, you know that that person is not going to be part of those festivities. But you know, as long as you go forward and you respect that energy and you say, you know what, I'm not going to make you upset by feeling bad. The
Right.
people that you love, they don't want you to feel bad. You know, they
no,
they but it's a heavy time. It's a balance. You have to have a balance. You
you
know,
know, I
I still cry all the time.
right? And you
You
will.
know,
My mother's been gone 25 years and I can't get through Christmas without thinking of her and breaking down, and I don't want to break down now. Um it doesn't get any easier. Someone put a post because I wrote grief is time standing still, which is so true. For us everything is like yesterday, even if years pass by. That loss, you remember that day,
Mm.
like it just every detail of the
So
day that someone that you love that passes away, you can't forget any of it. And I sadly relive those days on the anniversaries.
mm,
what's messed up. Last year, when I was with my mom for Christmas and for Thanksgiving, I knew she wasn't going to be here this year, and uh, and I even knew the dates. The numbers were always floating in my head for years and years and years. That when I thought of her, I equated her with these numbers for some reason. and that was like the date that she died, and even the time of day. And it's like you don't even want to admit to yourself these things. You don't even want to go there and think about. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter. The only thing that matters is that they're gone. It doesn't matter what your abilities and this and that, and people who I know great psychics that they're amazing, but still they don't know shit. You know what I mean? Like, because it doesn't really matter. The impact of life
So let me
happens.
ask you this.
I knew
It's
when
it,
my
it's
dad
it,
went into the hospital, he wasn't coming out. I actually prepared for his funeral, and he died a week later.
Let me ask you guys this then. Okay. I just want to mention Virginia's comment. There's never the perfect time to lose someone, but when it happens close to the holidays, moving forward, every holiday, you will always feel that void. I agree with that. But let me ask you this. Is it like when you say they don't know, they know nothing, basically, no matter how good they are, is it not about, all that matters is that she's passed. When you made that statement, I really felt that one. But should we not be celebrating life as opposed to grieving death?
that's
See,
what I tell people.
okay,
But am I going to listen to myself? No.
right,
You can't
right.
help those
But
human
yeah,
emotions, though.
if you're bigger and better, or if you think you're above it, there's no way, because that connection that you had with that person,
Hmm.
especially if it's a deep, deep, deep connection, that
Hmm.
that gets severed at that point, and the loss is just incredible, staggering.
Right, right.
And then it's just a big dark hole, and you just try to not to go in there,
Hmm.
No,
and
and
but
with
what are you gonna
everyone,
do?
you lose more, and you feel even more empty.
I know I'm going
Yeah.
to see her again though, and I know that she was always proud of the stuff I've done,
Hmm.
so there's no problems there. Like, I I just feel like, and then she died working. Believe it or not, she's 79. She worked for a school that has like these houses in the area for people with differently abled, and they had. I mean, when she started, she worked for them for 25 years. When she started, they only had a few houses, and now they have, I think, over 30 of them. She was known as the ambassador of the place,
Wow.
and
So
they
that's
loved
her
her there.
legacy then.
That's
They loved
beautiful.
they loved her there so much. They put a beautiful memorial outside.
Wow.
Had a nice service for her out there, and that's respect.
That
Yes.
helps, right? That
It's
helps when
respect.
you're grieving, when you're
Yes.
talking to people that they worked with. And I know for me, with my dad, when I was talking to that, my dad worked for the owner of the Four Seasons Hotel. He didn't work at the hotel, he worked alongside him in construction. When I remember having those conversations, I told you about Isidore telling me stories about my dad was so humble, and I didn't know these things were going on. And it made it easier to get through that week,
So
you know?
basically speaking to the people who your loved ones spent a lot of time with, maybe you'll get to know them on a different level. This one's for you, Michael.
Absolutely.
Virginia Earl says the loss is
Um,
overwhelming. I am so very sorry for your loss, Michael. That's from
Me
Virginia.
me too.
I
yeah,
know. I
I
know.
know. It's
But
hard, but
but yeah, but like I think the memorial thing is awesome that somebody thought enough of her to do that, you
mhm.
know. So let's move on then to signs. Um, you talked about that on your show last night, Discovery Paranormal, guys, every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Just saying. Um, that's right, right here. Um, were you looking for signs in the beginning?
With my mom,
Yeah,
she came to visit me just a few days after she had died, and I was actually in a hotel.
right,
And 5 o'clock in the morning, her scent was like all over me,
right,
and I knew it was her. There was nothing else in that room smelled like that,
right,
and that was her time. 5 o'clock in the morning, that's when she get up, feed her cats, and that type of stuff. That was her time,
right.
and she and then that nothing since.
There was a connection for her.
Yep.
Well, they're going to come through in a way, leaving a clue or Yeah, they want you to know who they are. I always, when I talk about this, the example I use is always my grandfather, because he loved black coffee and burnt toast. The rest of us are like, Gods, that's terrible. But sometimes 5 o'clock in the morning, people in the family, even to this day, which is almost 30 years later, will smell burnt toast and black coffee. So it's going to be something that you will recognize.
Hmm.
And in
But
your
you know
mom's
what's
case,
funny?
it's her scent, right? Her perfume.
This is what I've told by a lot of people in the know in our field is that they believe that there's a transition time after they pass. They might come to you real quick, say, "See you," I'll come back. They're like they have to transition, and after they do that, then they can like kind of visit and do that type of thing. And
Mhm.
it could take an extraordinary amount of time. It could take a couple of years. It could be months. So I mean, so we had a cat when I was a teenager who had died. They brought it to the vet to be put down, Muffy. And I was
Mhm.
outside. We lived in an apartment, and my sister had showed up, because it was her cat, but she didn't take it with her when she moved out. So she had showed up to take the cat with my mom to the vet. I was outside hanging out, and then I turned to go inside, and I thought I saw the cat run
Mhm.
past me like this smoky figure. He was
Mhm.
gray, but it didn't look like that. Just it was an impulsing, smoky figure. Just
Mhm.
so, and I was like, maybe it was just like I saw some, whatever I saw, and when he was young, he was running out of a door. My sister slammed the door to keep him in the room, and then she caught his tail. So he had like a little hot dog tail, you know what I mean? And
Oh.
Poor guy.
that was the shape that I saw. So then
Wow.
after that, so this cat would forever sit on top of the microwave in the kitchen, and as I'm walking in, I'd be like, "Get off of there." And then it got to the point where I'd walk in, he would just jump down, and I saw that. I walked in the kitchen multiple times, and I saw that smoky figure up there, and then
Right.
I saw it jump down. It was something that was happening that was unexplained, obviously, because there was no reason for it to happen. And then just a few months later, after all these things, because it had kind of gone away, a few months later, I was talking to my mom about it, and whatever we started talking about ghosts. And I told her what I had seen, and she said she saw the same thing. And not only that, she heard him meow like when we have two other cats.
Oh.
When she was feeding the other cats, she heard him meow like from under the table. And she said the other two cats looked at the table, and they were like, "What?" And she actually said she felt like he was saying goodbye. You know,
Aw,
Oh, so it goes to show your pets also come by in
they
visitation.
do.
cats,
Yeah.
dogs. I mean, I get a lot
Yeah,
of people
they
that
do.
say that type of stuff.
We've got them running around this house. They're not
Yeah.
ours. Well, except for PETA. But the rest are cats that, belonged here in yesteryear. People often see cats. We're like, what does it look like? Definitely it wasn't anything that was here that we know of. So I
Mm.
think, I think it's interesting. Um, okay, another comment before we move on. Yes,
And
there's
I
a
linked
transition time. My
on the
husband
show. I
didn't
taught.
cross right away.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. His spirit was lingering in the house, and I had to get someone to help him cross over. I couldn't do it alone.
I had to
Wow.
do that for someone because he
Yes.
wasn't leaving. He wanted to stay with her, and she
Yeah.
was so worried. But he had a
Yes.
message for her. That's why he stayed back. Sometimes that's what happens.
It is really that
Um,
simple.
when I lost my brother, I didn't grieve him right away. I was so busy taking care of everyone else. It actually took 6.5 years. And I ended up in therapy. And do you know, my brother, who didn't believe in any of this, is constantly working with me. Just saying.
Hmm.
There you
I
go.
see him the most out of everybody.
There you
Belief is
go.
a hard thing, especially when it's linked to ego. You know, and a lot of
Yeah.
times you can prove stuff to people, they just can't let it go because their ego tells them not to. But it's best just
Mm,
to be open minded and
right.
understand how the universe works.
Mm-hmm.
You know how it works? It sucks. It sucks.
I was
It
just going to
sucks
say, Michael, you're
from
putting it out
from
there like it's
top to
easy.
bottom,
Just
back and
tell it
forth,
like it is, Michael.
front
Don't
and
hold back.
back. It is the USS ship suck,
Because
and
I'm
that's what it
fearful.
is, man.
Yeah.
And you just have to navigate your way through it and
Right.
try to have a good time. Try to enjoy. You know what? Like my friend Nick, my cat Puffy died, and I was really like heavy. I couldn't believe it. It was just so hard, and because we had him for 12 years, and this cat
Oh,
slept next to my head every night,
that's
and
fun.
I regard him as my son, But
Right.
my friend Nick's like, the only thing you could do is savor the memories, and I remember that.
Yeah, that was probably my most recent loss, was my pup that I've had for a long time.
That's hard.
Let's just say we were very bonded, and she's still
there.
here. I still hear her. I still even hear the little pitter patter of running feet, and it's just very bizarre. So you do have to enjoy every moment. And I want to address, and either one of you can address this. It doesn't have to be me. Her dad wasn't crossing over because of unfinished business.
Yeah, it's always
Who
like
was
that.
it? Unfinished business.
Go ahead,
My mom was
Michael.
ready to go.
Your mom was ready to go.
She was ready.
Yeah. See, without knowing the situation, Virginia, it's actually very common that a lot of spirits will remain back. Maybe, like Amelia was saying, maybe it's something as easy as a message. Maybe it's something something that's not resolved. Either with yourself or someone else. Maybe they just want you to know something or have something. And not everybody, even though I believe everyone has the potential of being, using their abilities. I do believe everyone's born with it. Some people will use it. Some people are afraid to use it.
Depends, right? Depends how evolved they are, I think.
Yeah, because all of us can brush our teeth, but we're not all dentists, right? So it is a practice, and it is an education as well.
I think it's generational.
Absolutely.
But how many lives you had. I mean, for your old soul, there's a lot to that.
I believe
there
that.
is a lot to that. You're right about that. But I honestly believe, being in this field and the work that Michelle and I do together and the messages that we've brought across, they are always trying to communicate with you right after they pass. Always, just to let you know that they're okay and they're moving on. And, just because your dad, you got assistance and your father has ascended, he will still visit you. It's just a lot easier for him and a lot better for him that he has crossed over.
That investigation I was telling you about.
Daughter. Oh, I'm so sorry, Beverly.
Very sorry, Beverly.
So
that
sorry.
investigation I was telling you about with that guy David, and that the best picture we ever got. So at one point, his grandmother was all into the Ouija board, and she was real cool, like the way he described her. And they're always into the paranormal, which I think that helped them help them be in those photos, help them communicate with him,
give them an understanding of how it worked.
Well, the guy was a medium, but he didn't want to be. He was afraid of his abilities, and he just kind of was trying to hide. We even recommended books and people to talk to that can help shield himself from that type of energy. But in the room that night where all that stuff happened, that's the same room where we got those pictures, right? Those hunting cameras were going off, and the four of us were in the main living room just hanging out. At one point, I'm talking to the grandmother and I'm asking her to come forward. And I said, can you show yourself? Can you make your presence known? All of a sudden, I smell fresh roses just overwhelm me. And it wasn't some chemical spray. And I even said to David, I'm like, do you have any kind of before I even said what I was smelling, I'm like, do you have any kind of like air freshener spray that might, you plug in one of those things that might go off from time to time? He said, no, nothing. And it just, then I said to Pete, who was on the other side of the room, and I'm like, what do you smell right now? Do you smell something? And he said, I smell fresh roses, and I'm like, that's right. And then this guy David's like, oh my God, that's my grandmother. She would have fresh roses in her house all the time, every day. They lived in California. That they were fairly affluent, and it was a big deal for her to have just roses everywhere, and just real interesting. So I said, did you come from heaven? And Dowsing Rods is across and saying yes. And I'm like, is it beautiful? And she grabbed my hand, my right hand. I'm standing behind the camera talking and doing my thing. And somebody grabbed my hand and held it. And it was warm, and it was like very comforting. That was an experience. That was my third investigation ever.
Wow.
And we got those pictures, had those experiences.
Wow.
Great EVPs. I mean, just everything that happened there was amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We got some really amazing comments there right now.
Yeah, we're going to come up. Do you want to read this one?
Yes, please. Okay. Thank you. Beverly Muswa, I hope I'm saying that properly. I seen an orb in my house camera 2 nights ago, checked on my grandchildren I'm raising. You are an amazing woman, Beverly. See how they were getting along with the babysitter, and it was around my grandchildren. That's beautiful. I'm glad you had that moment. And Virginia Earl says, after I helped him cross, she's speaking of her father, I started receiving more signs. The signs and messages were showing up in different ways, like orbs everywhere and other images. Yeah, absolutely. We tend to think that because they've crossed that we're not going to have this communication with them. And that could be, why many reasons that people hold them back even more. But you will have that continued
So
interaction.
that's another question then to either one of you. The grieving process, the wanting a sign so desperately, do we hold them back? Anyone?
I'll let Michael answer that
I'll
one
go,
first.
but I
Yeah.
want to say that not all orbs are orbs. Of course, we got to put that out there. A lot of it's bugs or dust or whatever, and it's actually very easy to tell. I get a lot of people say they got an orb in this picture. I got 5, 6, 30 orbs. I'm like, it's dust, and it's.
It's
but
controversial, yeah.
I've seen. Well,
Yeah.
I've seen orbs, and they're orbs of light, and I've actually seen one go down a hallway, stop, turn towards the camera, it turned into a woman's face, and then
Yeah.
it turned back and went into the room it was heading into. Now that is cool.
I,
That's
I
cool stuff.
I like to believe that when there's one that you probably
The
you're
ones with the
probably
faces are
seeing
interesting.
it.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
you're talking to a moth.
Beverly wants to know, or sorry, Virginia wants to know, hold them back as in?
Holding them back as in not allowing them to ascend. The grieving holds them here because they feel for you and they want to continue giving you signs and energy so that they can comfort you, and they don't have that control because you're pulling them. But if you allow that to go, I didn't have that with any of my losses. I'm very fortunate that way, that's where I can say, yeah, my gifts with my dad, it was nonstop communication with him. He was constantly communicating and coming around and talking. I wasn't searching for signs. They just happened. But I believe that's a lot to do with not just not being gifted, but because I'm gifted, I know to allow it. Where everybody gets those messages, but they're not allowing them because they're taking them as maybe as well, they rationalize it instead of, oh, that's a sign, or instead of finding there are no coincidences in life. So instead of looking for how that connects to something, and it's so obvious sometimes because we'll help out in cases and they'll say, oh my gosh, I saw that, but I didn't think. And I think it's important to give yourself that credit to say, yeah, you know what, that is a sign. And when you open up to that, you start to see more and more.
Well,
and more.
I think the grieving itself, your loved ones are concerned for you. So sometimes I have worked with people who have grieved. I worked with a family who lost a daughter, and they couldn't let go. They could not let go, and she remained behind because she just didn't know how to help them move on. She was quite young when she passed.
Yeah,
and
she didn't want to leave them.
She didn't want to leave them. And I would try to work with them and say, if you don't let her go, what happens if she that never goes and you guys go? You won't even be with her afterwards, as you'll move on. It was really difficult. So sometimes that's how they hold back. It's just because of their concern. And to address the orb thing, because Virginia says, I know the difference between a dust and orbs right in front of me. I just want to make note that some people are seasoned enough to be able to see that, but some people have absolutely no idea. I've had people send me pictures, where they're out camping and the whole frame is full of orbs and they're terrified. So we just like to put it out there that not everything is a spirit orb. So it just clarifies, because we really literally do have a couple of million people plus per night that listen to the show. So we just want to make sure that gets put out there.
It's very controversial in our field.
It can be, yeah.
I always say, if you're seeing a million of them, chances are,
Chances are
and
it's
you're not on a
environmental.
battlefield,
Yeah.
chances
Yeah.
are, and you have to remember, digital picks up every single little thing.
It does.
And I believe that there's a knowing inside of you when there's one orb. There's a knowing. It's not a hope, because that catches you off guard, right? So
Well, what you're looking at is refraction from a center. So
Mhm.
usually, if there's a bug or if it's dust or if a raindrop, you can look at the center and you'll see what the object is.
Right.
Especially if it's close, real close to the camera. For instance, if it's dust, it could come across as a lot of different types
Mm.
of orbs. But the orbs I'm
Right.
talking about are orbs of light, and they look completely different. In
Mhm.
fact, a lot of them I've seen as spirals, like these
Yes.
kind of
yeah,
Seen those. Yes.
geometric shapes and all that.
Mhm.
Very
yeah,
interesting.
they have
So
tails
Rods, things
sometimes
like that.
too, and you'll know them
Yeah.
because they're literally like on a path. It's not
Mhm.
random. It's very it's tough, if like Michelle said, it's not an
Yeah.
easy
We
thing.
just
It's
like to
very
put it out there
controversial
because
here.
there are a lot of people that really don't understand. Do you want to get the next comment here, Amelia?
Yes, absolutely. With Zachman, I remember being in my friend's house a week ago. The hardest part was the silence.
Mm.
He was never a quiet person, and he made life more interesting. It was hard being there in the place where he passed. Did you feel him, Zach?
See, that's something there also, guys, and maybe
Yeah.
you can comment on it.
grab
That
some
the
whiskey, get a
silence,
cigar.
the silence.
The silence.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
know? Well, yeah. So who wants to
Yeah,
go?
that's not easy.
The silence.
Uh,
That's a tough one. Walking into, a place where you're used to seeing your loved one and the just crickets, nothing.
I'm in the middle of fixing my mom's house up, trying to get it for sale, and just doing this and doing that. I mean, just kind of just we had to get everything out of it, and oh my God, I didn't know how I was going to get through it.
yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
my sister and I kind of went there at different times, because we have different schedules, and it's just
Mhm.
Oh, you were there
unbelievable.
alone.
Yeah,
That's
and
not
and
easy.
just real. It's heavy. It's real heavy, you know.
Mhm.
And I
I
expected her to be there, and she's not. Her car's not in the driveway. She's not there.
Mhm.
She, I have half her ashes, and I'm gonna go out to one of my sister's houses, and we're gonna plant a tree. We did that with the other half for ashes. On my other sister has a farm, so she planted a tree,
That's nice.
with a bio urn.
That's nice. It's
Yeah.
it's giving life.
I actually bought an aloe because this one's going to go out in the desert, sort of, and you
Mhm.
know, half desertish anyway in Arizona.
Right.
Oh,
And
Wayne. Yeah.
So it's giving life and aloe heals. So it's healing.
that was my mom. That's why I got the aloe, and I was like, you know what? It's a little tiny plant right now, but it's going to grow into a beautiful one.
Mhm.
And that's her. That's her energy. She was
Right.
always doing something nice for somebody. Always.
Mhm.
So
Right.
single mom, worked hard all of her life, always had two jobs basically, and you know they didn't treat women right back in the day with
No.
promotions and things like that. And for her experience and all of the stuff that she's done, she would train people, and only because they were males that they
Mm.
would get a better job than her. And
Yeah.
she was
That's
there
her.
longer. And just crazy how stuff was happening back then.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
she was tough, and when she got cancer, she fought it, man. She was tough. It was
Mhm.
important for her to get up and go to work and do that. That was the most important thing.
Forging ahead. Yeah. Well,
But
again, it
that's the
comes.
purpose. You gotta think, what's your purpose? What even makes you happy? What do you enjoy doing? I mean, like my doctor just recently asked me that when I had a physical. He's like, do you do anything that you enjoy? I'm like, I enjoy my job. There's that, but
Mm.
I mean, like, as for going out, I don't want to see any people these days.
No, it's true.
Yeah. No one wants to see anybody right
Yeah,
now.
good call. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm a
Yeah.
photographer, and I run out with my camera, and you know, it motivates me to go
Mhm.
and check play, and then I share the pictures with friends. I mean, so it's
Mhm.
win-win.
Yeah. Michael takes fantastic pictures. I love Wayne's comment. And I've seen pictures of these orbs. Wayne Mellows, hi Wayne.
Oh, our security cameras pick up all that stuff.
Yeah, I've caught orbs on camera when I could actually see. Damn, my thing when I could actually see a human face clearly in the bubble. You have some amazing shots in that house.
This house remember, there's no forced air. There's nothing. It's boilers, no forced air. Yeah. And sometimes the cameras would go off all the time. And meanwhile, there's nobody here for 4 months. Like there's just no reason for it to be. And you see orbs coming out of the chandeliers, which haven't been on in ages, going into mirrors, coming out, and you see clear faces. It's just an anomaly, really, you know. Oh, okay. I see we're getting the bots are out. Bots are gone. Yes.
Yeah.
So, okay. Zach, the answer to your question, Amelia, that you asked. Zach,
thank you. I am not sure if I felt him while there. I recounted a story of him when I bet him that I could do a spot-on impression of him. I shouted out his son's name, and his son came running down thinking it was him.
Okay. Part 2.
Those are nice, thinking it was his dad. I did the impression again, and it was almost like he was communicating through me. I hope I gave him a voice again after he passed. You always will give him a voice.
So then that's a compliment, right? Yes. How about emulating your loved ones, doing something that they really love?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is a good way to do it.
It's like Christmas. I'm making lasagna because my dad made lasagna every single Christmas. Mm-hmm. And to represent him at the table this year, even though I'm not a fan of certain foods, they will be there for him. Because I feel like I'm making an offering to the other side.
To honor my father?
You should what? Sorry? What?
Put a bet on a horse, go to OTB or one of those.
Yeah, no. My dad taught me
pretty much
a lot.
What he did.
My dad taught me and my mom how to cook. So that whole thing I get from him. And that it will be ever present and always present for my daughter.
Well, you make some beautiful creations. I mean, you're an artist.
Thank you. What, for food?
Pizza.
Oh, God. What a weakness. What a weakness pizza is. Yeah. Oh, my God.
I know.
We're going to meet in Niagara, right? But we're going to make our own pizza.
Yeah.
All the pizza that's horrible.
We're just going to invite ourselves to Michelle's.
Now, Buffalo's got some good pizza. They actually really do. It's
really?
got a big Italian section.
I don't associate Buffalo with pizza.
Yep, they got.
And I've been there.
Good pizza too.
Yeah.
Just saying, yes. Beverly says, so strange how they let me know they're with me. I find dimes in the oddest places. Yeah, this house gives up coins too. Double digits on the clocks, always 1111 or 444 or things like that. Yeah, that's true. That would be the considered, angelic numbers or universal numbers. What are your thoughts on that, Michael?
Maybe just look at the clock a lot. That's kind of,
Michael, you're really putting like a damper on all of this. I'm just saying,
Well, I see 9/11 on the clock, like 9/11, 9/11, 9/11. You know what I mean? It's like, but I look at the clock a lot. So that's my problem. I get the 11/11 a lot, and I post it on Facebook, like 11/11.
But it's not always the clock, Michael. You can see the numbers in a license plate. You can see the numbers in an address.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's not always the clock. No, for sure.
It depends on what you really want to read into to get some kind of message. I think messages are much clearer than that. And as a feather laying there and that type of thing, when it comes down to that kind of energy, you can feel it. Like you said before, when you that orb or whatever, even if you see a picture of a ghost, and you know what it is, and you can feel it. You can, it's a feeling. So, but when it comes, so that's what I say. In the paranormal field, there's a lot of people who are full of it, man. 100%. We know some people. I'm not going to name them at this point.
We do.
No,
we do.
Don't.
Yes,
don't.
We do.
Can I just say something before you go on to trash the rest of the paranormal field? Can I just say something? This thing about the numbers and the universal to me is not is not a message from someone who passed. It's my angels acknowledging in that moment, letting me know to acknowledge them and to know that they are with me and that this is coming to fruition, what I'm focused on at that moment. I look to see what I'm focused on when
Well, I
it
think
happens, especially 1111. That means that it's in your favor, it's moving forward, you're putting it out there and they hear you. So I think you really have to pay attention to what you're thinking of. I don't see it as a past loved one saying, "Oh, here I'm here."
Right.
It's 1111. I see it as interdimensional beings communicating
Or
with you through
intervening,
numbers,
maybe
intervening. Yes,
maybe guides on behalf of your
yes,
loved ones, also.
absolutely.
That's higher dimensional beings or interdimensional beings or
Yeah.
okay. So
Well, you also have to accept the randomness of the universe. I
yes.
mean, with the paranormal stuff is all great. The reason why I
Yes.
went into it because I wanted to prove things to myself, which I did. It was never to prove anything to anybody else. As a matter of fact, I mean, we put shows on YouTube,
Mm,
youtube.com/Discovery Paranormal. You can see a lot of investigations, and this is all just real time type of stuff. And I wanted to take people on the journey, with us
mhm,
so they could experience things too in the investigation that didn't cloud it with music and or wasting time running wires or arguing on camera like you see a lot of this crap. But then the crap on TV, they need to sell Pepsi and Coke. They need to sell their, I don't even know if they sell that. They need to
mhm,
sell their 900 numbers. You know what I
right.
mean? Like that's kind of who advertises on these shows.
Mhm,
So whatever. I didn't care about any of that. There was something I wanted to know. And I'm fairly done writing this book. It's called Our Favorite Haunts, Discovery Paranormal, Our Favorite Haunts. And
mhm,
really, volume one covers the first four investigations that we did. And for me, going from not knowing much, just what I felt and what was in my gut, and then
mhm,
starting to use equipment and coming up with ideas to really promote that communication, back and forth and also produce evidence. And we went from 0 to 100. And the
mhm,
guy did the investigations with Peter Canellis. He would go out with his family and do investigations. Like they had their little group, and that's how I found him actually, on Craigslist. So, and we took
right.
ads out on Craigslist that basically we're ready to believe you. If you have a paranormal experience, call me, and we got some great investigations that way. We're the real deal. We never charged anybody. We went there and gathered our evidence, but I learned so much.
Right.
And then you come up with ideas on how to communicate better. You want the better evidence, and you want to hear those Class A EVPs, and you know
Mhm,
get into the high energy places that is super active. You know, so
mhm,
we did it, and
right.
so I mean, and he's kind of burnt out right now. He has two children. They had grandbabies, so he was more focused on that. You know, and
Mhm,
I do the show. Discovery Paranormal on radio, of course,
mhm,
podcast. So that
mhm.
kind of, but I'm kind of starting to do investigations again. And
Which is, again, we're kind of in a crazy time
Oh,
for that. So how do you compensate for that?
I'm staying at these resorts. I'm about to travel across the country with mom's ashes. I'm going to stay at these resorts because this time of year they're cheap, cheap, cheap. And
Mhm.
they're beautiful places. I mean, my normal's kind of like I guess a Hilton or something like that. And these are like nicer places that are cheaper, and then they're all haunted. I made specifically to know I want to stay in every haunted place between here and there.
Yeah, I'm
You know,
same. I'm like that. I love haunted places.
Well, my father, who was born in this place called Eagle Nest in New Mexico, right, middle of freaking nowhere.
I'm
I
saying hi to
mean,
mom.
he was born in 1917. So if they imagine 1917 Eagle Nest,
Wow.
there ain't nothing around there, and he had lived there until he went into the war, in World War II. But so there's a
Mhm.
tavern there that was a brothel for since the 1880s, and the brothel just closed down in 1973. And then there's a woman there who runs a tavern who knows the ghosts. She knows their names. She says she sees them all the time. These are the former prostitutes that were there over the years, and that type of thing. So I'm like, how cool would that be? Like, go there and do a ghost hunt in this place.
Well, now you've got to go to Arizona because Zachman says your drink and cigar are on me.
Really? Is that where he's at?
Yep,
Yep.
right there.
He's always bragging about how hot it
See,
is
look,
there.
I'm putting it right up on the screen right now.
Yep.
There we go. There it is.
I'll bring the cask strength Knob Creek, and he can
There we
supply
go.
the cigar. Yeah?
There we go. Now it's a
Fall over
party.
with either one of those things in my hand, but
That's now. Did you say you were bringing Mom along with you?
Yep.
Oh, so it's like a road trip. See,
Yeah.
there's the healing
She's
thing.
coming along. I need her ashes with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and you know what? I work remote, so I'm taking my time. I can only travel actually a couple days a week, so I'm going to be in these other places for 3 or 4 days. I'm like, why not go to these haunted resorts and kind of roam around? There's going to be COVID. There's going to be zombie land out there. No one's going to be on the road except crazy old me, and I'll be broadcasting from the road.
Right?
You know, broadcast on my show. I could do it live in different places. And I have friends who have haunted B&Bs in these places, but I want to focus on the hotels. The hotels have real cool stories.
They do.
There's one in Silverton in Colorado. And what's really cool is that the energy of those places, because as you know, when you do these investigations, if you do it near like running water, that running water is going to cause more energy, to those negative ions,
limestone, things like that.
Yeah, limestone, the whole bit. And but in Colorado and northern New Mexico, you have all of those and more, and a lot of uranium, things like that. And so when the skinwalkers of Shiprock, that Shiprock area, that's they mine a lot of uranium from that area. And I know people have seen the skinwalkers.
Crazy.
I know my friend's father, not my friend, a friend of a friend's father, put it that way.
Oh, I thought
He worked. Well, the guy lived up in Shiprock, and you want to hear the story? It's a crazy story.
We absolutely do.
No.
Yes. I want a skinwalker story. Yes, I do.
No.
Go ahead.
I'm kidding.
Now I feel bad.
Don't feel bad, man. Just go for it. And Zachman says, sounds like a plan to me, Michael. So, okay, go ahead on the skinwalker story. All
right. So I don't know if you guys out there know what skinwalkers, but it's supposed to be a type of hybrid Indian that, like a Navajo, particularly, that is that's like they're a witch. You know what I mean? Like they can shape shift, they can do all kinds of stuff, and their whole thing is about just kind of sucking the life out of you. And they're popular in Native American culture in that area, but super popular because they've been seen. And there's actually a thread you can go to Shiprock, and people will write in this thread currently, they saw a skinwalker on this highway. Don't go that way.
Wow.
Like
that's
so
creepy. So they do exist to you. Like, do you believe it?
My friend Tommy. Well, we'll see now. In 1990, I was going to go to Arizona State University, so I drove out there from Long Island, and when I was to my friend Tommy that I had met, the people who lived upstairs from me in the apartment, that woman, that was her son anyway. So I met him on Long Island, and he's like, if you're ever out in Shiprock, look me up. So hey, lo and behold, I was cruising through Gallup, and I'm like, Shiprock's not that far north, so I decided to head up that way. Route 666 it was. How crazy is that? That they just changed it. Yeah, they just changed it recently to like 481 or 451, something like that. But so I'm going up this Route 666 in my black Trans Am. I'm cruising.
One of those.
got my T-tops off. I got my music on. I'm going through like Native American territory, and it was beautiful, man. Like it was like the rocks out there, the bluffs, and all that stuff. The red rock is just amazing, So I'm cruising going up the road, and then just go up. Like me personally, I went up there to visit, and then he's the one who told me about the skinwalkers and all that. And then he said that it was his friend who he worked with. He worked at a drilling company called Four Corners Drilling. So his friend's father was in his big pickup truck, big dually, right? And he had to go down to Gallup to pick some stuff up, and it was dark out. It was early evening, so he's cruising through Shiprock, going through that area from Farmington to Shiprock down to Gallup. So as he's going down the road, he says he's going 65, 70 miles an hour. Something ran up next to him, looked at him with glowing eyes, and he said it looked like a dog or some kind of wolf, but it was size of a man, bigger even, pounding at the windows to get at him, and then scratching at the door. And then he was like flipped out. He hits the gas, goes faster, loses this thing, and then he finally gets down to Gallup. He pulls into like some gas station with all these bright lights. He saw like dig marks in the side of his door and blood that was on there. And he was flipped out, and he was a believer from that point on, right? I mean, so, but what is it? And how come, maybe you have a 10 millimeter pistol, you blow its brains out. I mean, what about that? you know what I mean?
Well,
Can you
on
though?
that
We
note,
don't
we
know
have
if we could kill it.
You
on
can try.
that note, we have to do a station ID and sponsor ID. Then
Yes.
we can talk
Yes,
about
please and thank you.
killing
Right
off
now, I'm
skinwalkers.
wishing that I had Folgers coffee in this cup. It's been a long day, but it's a great show tonight. You're listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and myself, Amelia Pisano. Tonight, our special guest is our dear friend and colleague here, host at UPRN, Michael Angley. You can find his shows on Tuesdays and Thursdays. He actually is on just before us on Thursday nights. So come in an hour earlier and tune in to the Red Pill News. We are broadcasting live from the beautiful city of New Orleans on 105.3 FM radio. And our show, we are United Public Radio. I was going to go into what we're streaming because I am like so confused right now. UFO Paranormal Radio, International Public Radio, UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials Radio. We're on all of the Facebook pages of all of those, but you will find us mostly on UFO Paranormal Radio. Don't forget to check out our archives. Don't forget to give us a like, subscribe, and please share it up with your friends. We have a beautiful intro. If you've listened from beginning to end, please don't miss it. The amazing Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, award-winning composer, and he has gifted us with our intro and outro. I'm losing it today. Justin Snicker, did I say that? I'm literally losing it.
You said something about Snickers. I don't know, mountains.
No. Justin Snicker, he
bar.
is an award-winning composer, and it's his voice that you hear in the intro and the outro. You can find him on Bandcamp, on Amazon. Michael's throwing me off tonight. And of course,
it's my energy, man. Because we talked about pizza and Niagara Falls.
Okay, let me finish.
It's a great intro.
We're not done yet.
Not done.
We're not done yet. Go ahead.
Not only thank you to Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, but also thank you to Folgers Coffee, who have been here from the beginning. Oh my gosh, I can send you one, Amelia. I'm drinking it right now.
Thank you, Folgers.
Mama.
Thank you, Folgers.
Literally need one. I'm so out of it. I'm so sorry.
So Zachman says the Navajo won't even talk about skinwalkers. I had a Navajo buddy who was open to talking about it at all. About Navajo. Okay, I'm guessing you meant to say who was open to talk about it all.
Yeah, they have a thread.
Yeah, the cultures, the skinwalkers was not one. Okay, I see. But he wouldn't talk about skinwalkers. And the Navajo Nation PD have to investigate skinwalker cases, no matter how absurd many people find them. There we go.
Well, yeah, if they have the firm belief in it and they feel they're there, of course they would.
Well, the area they see them the most is that Shiprock area. So Shiprock is a rock that looks like a ship. It's actually the butt plug of a volcano that goes down like 30-something miles into the earth. So you have this unbelievable energy in that whole region. And then put that together with the ant people, put that together with all these great stories from the Hopi and Navajo and all these different I mean, it's real cool on the whole story. I mean, I did shows about this and I researched it. And they all had the song in their head. And they were all called to the ant people, and they took them. They said underground, but you really don't know if it was underground. But they all gathered in one place, and they saved those people from the cataclysm that happened. That was in the Rocky Mountains, that whole region.
That's right.
It was green and plush. This is a place where dinosaurs roamed, and it was really heavy duty with nature, just like Egypt was at one time.
At one time,
rainforest around there. Imagine that.
Yeah, there's a portal there. Yes, there
Yeah,
absolutely
tons
is.
of portals there.
Says
There must be
Dave.
one in my office tonight because I'm so out of it. Seriously.
It's my energy,
I
man.
feel like
It's our
the
energy
end
together. We are connected through pizza.
through
Pizza. Pizza and United Public Radio. I know
Oh
a
God.
connection right
Pizza
there.
is pie, and pie cannot be calculated. So there, man. Talk
Pie is
about
happy. Pie's a happy
you
place.
want to find the exit of the universe. It's pie.
That's
Pie,
it.
pie,
Pie, a pizza
pie's the only
pie.
one that can't be calculated. So obviously that's the one that works. But yes,
No,
pizza pie.
I feel, does anyone else feel the energy of the end of the year draining?
I know that the Earth is going through a transition. I think that COVID is a huge, horrible, unbelievable
Oh, let's
thing.
not talk about that.
Eh,
We'll get ripped off,
but it's
Michael.
gonna cycle and cycle and
Michael
cycle
spoke.
until it becomes a more of a problem. Anyway, at the
Right,
same time, what I'm
right.
really feeling is that there's going to be some kind of thing that happens, like a natural event, and it's going to compound everything else. And I felt this coming for a long time, and
You're not the
we're
first one who has said that, actually.
we're on the verge of it. It's something called the tipping point,
Right?
where no matter what, in medical or whatever, you get to the tipping point, and you know that you're there. We're at the
Mhm.
tipping point, I believe.
Yes, Dave said the energy just switched direction, Amelia, on the solstice. I actually felt at peace yesterday, though, Dave.
Mhm.
Today, everything has been just
Upheaval. Yeah.
right.
Right.
Everything's been a struggle today. It's just been crazy.
But people are
So
losing it too, So there's
that's
that.
people
So you're saying
energies.
I'm
Yeah,
losing it?
that's pretty
Yeah, they're
hard.
losing it, like
They're
mentally losing it.
well, but they're fed up also. But when you say that, the earth is going through, like, is it to you? It's a physical change, an energy change. Is it a cataclysm? What
I'm
do you
feeling a
think?
shift,
A shift.
a
Right.
shift, as simple
Right.
as that. Just a huge shift,
Yeah.
and that's people gonna have to just deal with it, I guess.
Yeah. And Wayne
Yeah.
says, I believe you, Michael. I felt this way for quite some time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But look at the power of the storms lately too, huh? Look at that one with the tornado on the ground for 200 and some
I
miles.
don't know. Is that
Really
China? Like 30 tornadoes running through the U.S.
killing all
Their
those
new
people
weather making machine. I don't
just
know.
like
Well,
that.
the mudslides in British Columbia are
There's a
crazy
lot.
right now, too, though.
Yeah,
They
there's
just
a
went
lot.
through the big forest fires and now they've got mudslides. It's just,
I
Well,
know Wayne
everything is an
you
Canadian
have
That's
awakening.
right.
you. I mean, if you believe in global warming or not, it doesn't really matter. It matters that the data matters, right? So you
Climate
have all
change.
this fresh water dumping into the oceans right now. I mean, because of that. And
Right.
so the oceans need a certain amount of salt to circulate. If they don't have that salt, they're going to go slower and they're going to stop circulating. If they stop circulating altogether, it doesn't clean the north ice that what normally cleans the water that circulates down south and South Pole too, going north, is not going to be present.
Hmm.
And if that happens, you're looking at superstorms. It's just the way nature works.
Oh, the
Well,
winds have been horrific
so
over here.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there
Oh,
anything you don't know, Michael?
well, we had a windstorm here. It was crazy. The whole house was shaking. The wind was 60 miles an hour, and that's like tropical storm.
Yeah,
Oh,
here
And
yeah,
too.
and the
here
waves
also.
outside were 4 feet tall. I mean, this is a lake. The waves were 4 feet tall. It was
Um, Lake Erie here on the Canadian side, the waves are
Oh,
11 feet.
yeah. They're really
Like like
bad.
like the water went up, like
Yeah.
broke all the levees.
But look at
Yeah.
the flooding around the world, and like that
Mhm.
typhoon that was in the Philippines, was like a super typhoon. So I'm
Mhm.
just saying, there's an intensity that's
Yes,
happening, and
Well,
like
yes.
absolutely. Because, like Michelle said about the 11-foot waves, and yet in the
Just
summer, Lake Erie, because we have a cottage at Lake Erie, will pull the tide in for
right,
hundreds of feet. It's
yeah.
dry. And that's only been the last, I think, 10 years. So
yeah.
it's really insane.
And you guys live fairly close to where I am. I mean,
Yes,
basically anyway. So
Yeah.
yes,
I know
yes.
Amelia's about, if I drove there straight, it'd be like almost 3 hours. So,
Mhm.
No, no. Michelle's closer to you than I am.
mhm.
Yeah.
No,
I'm
the way I drive,
45 minutes away.
I'd,
I'm not
I'd be
in
there. I'd be there
Toronto.
in 3 hours.
I'm not in Toronto.
Just
He's
like your dad,
coming
like
now.
it's
He's
You don't know
coming
the
now.
way I drive.
definitely not like how I drive,
I
because I'd
said
be
if
there
I
like
drive there. I wasn't talking about some Uber driver. I'm talking about
I'm
me.
like pronto quickly.
Oh yeah.
I have this thing in the
So
car called a radar detector, and man, I like it.
Oh, well, Dave Petrella has got a great point here. It's also the very start of the age of Aquarius, guys. Nature has to make way for the new system.
I agree with that as we enter a new age.
This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius.
It is. It is. We can get into a whole other show about all of that.
Pisces the fish is ending, man.
It's ending. It is with a bang, I think. Also,
Well, I mean, gravitationally, the Earth changes.
yes,
You know, the moon's on a wobble, which is also, you know, the moon controls everything. Basically,
it
what we got
does.
going on in
It does.
elementally, you know, like ocean
So, how do you
tide.
think that affects people's energy?
It
Because
screws
we're all
people up.
energy, right? And we're all made up of water.
People are really. I don't think that. I think that with COVID being open ended, with no
Yep.
sight, you know, and no end in sight, that
Right.
messes people up. The
Right.
uncertainty of the near future, the future messes people up. The fact that people are out there unraveling and shooting each other in schools and malls and in the streets and whatever, that messes people up. You know, and then the lack of leadership completely messes people up. You know,
We've
so
got a lot of crime here as well. I'm Pisces, so maybe that's why I feel drained, because it's ended and it's going somewhere else.
But I mean,
but you see in the
we are made
Dow,
up of energy. We are, you know, full on water.
Yep.
Seriously, we're going to be affected by all of that.
So get in the jacuzzi and don't worry about it. Pop some champagne because there's nothing you can do. I mean, even for climate change, if you even believe in whatever, you can throw trillions and trillions on it. There's no reversing things. Things need to cycle, just like viruses, just like everything.
Yeah.
Need
Right.
to cycle, and once you get past that cycle, boom, then there you are. It's important not to be in a place though that's going to get cycled. You know what I mean? To avoid that completely. And I don't know about you guys. I mean, I'm kind of a road warrior and a nomad a bit, especially these days. And you know, I'm compelled to get out of the Northeast. Like I feel compelled. Like, you know, there's
Really?
just something telling me to go to higher ground, get into altitude, get up there. And I don't know what it's been. It's been
Do
like
you
a couple.
trust your instincts?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why I'm going out west. Now, didn't I mention earlier?
That's okay. You can mention it again for anybody who wasn't listening. Wes says, I know during a full moon, the prison is crazy.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want your job, Wes.
Hang out in Colorado
No.
Springs, 6,300 feet, got good coffee, nice people. What's wrong with that?
The energy of Aquarius is cold and severe and oppressive. Oh, that's great. Whereas the age of Pisces was warm and welcoming and sensitive.
Of course we are.
Wayne says we're made up largely of water. We feel the pull of the moon.
In the Tao, Pisces, like yin and yang, are actually the two fish swimming together, and that can be considered a Pisces.
Right.
That's why I'm always confused.
No, but yin and yang is balance. It's balance.
I felt like that during the station ID. I felt like really I couldn't grasp, but it's been a day. It's been a day like that.
Sometimes
because it's the holidays, it's the energy. I'm telling you,
it is the
not
energy.
just our energy, but the energy of all the people out there. People usually
that's true. I was
like
out today. I was out today. That's right.
People usually dread the holidays, dread it.
Yeah.
And then that energy is gross, man. You know, Halloween, people love Halloween.
True.
You don't feel bad around Halloween. You feel that fun energy.
But you're also not emptying your pocketbook at Halloween, Michael.
Exactly.
You know? Says you.
People you don't even like.
I don't know.
No, but I mean, like for people you don't even like.
Yeah, it depends who you are.
So it's like, you know, I noticed that today when I was out because a lot of the girls said they were all anxious because they're last minute shoppers and we've been cut to 50% capacity in the malls and they're freaking out because there's lineups. And I went, I finished Christmas shopping October 1st. So I don't know. I've always been that way. I've always, you know,
it is a stressful time of year. It's also a time of year where people are naturally depressed or have high levels of anxiety naturally, you know, especially around the solstice time because you have longer nights, shorter days, but that starts to turn the other way. You know, it is. We're going to start going the other way now towards spring. So when you factor that in, you know, that doesn't help. And if we're living in a time right now where We're listening to a lot of depressing media. We are not this show, just saying, but we're listening to, yeah, right. But we're listening to a lot of depressing media. There's, like I said, what we were mentioning on social media earlier. I see a lot of loss of life happening, both with the little fur families as well as individuals. There's a lot of angst between people for various reasons that we're not going to mention on this show, but related to what's been going on in the last 2 years. So I think when you almost have a perfect storm,
That's what it is.
This is a time where we should be raising our vibrations. People should be happy. Like, let's call a truce to everyone out there who's sort of like, having angst issues, and just raise the vibrations a little bit.
Stay inside and turn the TV off. Read a book. Ignore what's going to happen. You know what? You want me to be 100% with you on what's going to happen in the next few weeks. You're not going to believe what's going to happen, and it's
do it without saying the C word.
It's going to be a real strain on everyone in probably every way, and people are going to have a fear like they haven't really experienced before. So,
are you talking worldwide? Or are you talking just in the United States?
I'm actually saying be thankful for today because it hasn't happened yet. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, like if you're gonna be thankful for anything,
Christmas is coming. Stop.
If we're coming into, I'm beyond all that. I mean, for a lot of reasons, but what I'm seeing, out there in the world, it's just real heavy, and people need to be part of. They need to be part of the solution and not part of the problem.
I agree. I agree on that. And there's expectations. And Kate says, I find it hard. I find it a very hard time of year. I think partly because there's an expectation to be surrounded by friends and family, which not everyone has. See, that's the thing right there. Is
Want me to add to it?
Stipulations.
Yes. I'll say that there's 100,000 Russians on the Ukrainian border, and they're about to get into action. And at the same time, you have China threatening with Taiwan, saying they're going to go in. At the same time, we've got this COVID emergency. At the same time, you have all this energy out there that is just off the hook. I know you guys are feeling it. It's off the hook.
Oh, it is. I think anybody who's empathic or sensitive with abilities in any way, shape, or form is going to feel not just the different shifts that are happening, but that exactly the world. If you're empathic, it's painful.
Right.
It's painful to feel
there's
that.
a panic.
Yeah.
Like a tidal wave of a panic,
right.
I feel.
Sure.
And it's just people are going to have to be just focused on their family and loved ones and be strong for each other. I mean, that's all you can really do in the world itself. So, it's just something that we have to deal with, and be smart about it. But unfortunately, that smart part is up to the individual and their personal responsibility, and that's a big word for a lot of people, responsibility. But as for spirits and all that, when people ask, how can I get my Aunt Martha to come visit me? Well, I'm like, do you have anything of hers, like personal affects, things like that are nice? You can put it around the Christmas tree and you tell those good stories, like I said earlier. That's the nice part of visitations, is that you welcome it, they know it, they want to be around something fun. And maybe they'll come around even more with these heavy times coming. I mean, we're entering, they're deploying the military and FEMA, right now in New York and other states too. It's
pretty heavy. Yeah.
I think that people get panicked.
I think you got to start thinking positively and raise those vibes. This is a time of year to do that, like you talk about visitations.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know, maybe either one of you can jump in, the difference between a dream and a visitation. How do you know your loved one is visiting?
It's a feeling.
Yeah.
You know it. And it stays with you too for a long time.
Right. Right.
For me, it's the conversation.
Right.
It's the conversation and the consistency in that visit. It's not random images like dreams are. Dreams don't really have a flow. They're really like odd and weird.
Right.
But when it's a visitation, there's a consistency.
Well,
there's always a message in it, whether it's warmth, love, or something that they need to say to you.
dreams is a big word because there's like
It
lucid
is.
dreaming. There's all kinds of types of dreaming, especially when you're communicating, you're spiritually communicating through your dreams. That those twilight dreams, that's when you kind of get those visitations, right?
Mhm.
And they do come to you. Like when my mom, I smelled her scent. I woke up, smelled it. There was no message, only that was smelled like it was her.
Presence.
I knew it was her.
Yeah.
And that was only a few days like after she had passed.
Right.
But when
Right.
it comes to other things, I mean, you can kind of evoke it, and there's so many people, when they're grieving, they want to reach out, they want to have that conversation like we were talking about before, and
But you need to be careful with that too, right? I
Yep.
think some people want it so desperately, and there are things out there, not to be a buzzkill, but there are things out there that will happily,
oh yeah,
you
waltz right in there, and it's not your Aunt Mary.
I
It's
I think
Yeah.
know inside that it isn't. I think you have that little bit of fear and that hesitation to
Right.
communicate with them. Anyway, that's how I am. I love Mama LeBlanc's comment.
If I can remember every aspect of the visit, including the conversation for a few days, I conclude that it is definitely a visitation.
I wake
Yeah.
up saying people's names sometimes, and I actually got to the point where I have a pad and pen next to the bed, and I would write
Yeah.
down the names I've never heard of. I have no reason to
Mhm.
even, I mean, like if you listen to Joe Montaldo, it's all bleed through, and he
He's gonna come on now. Watch.
he would certainly say that there's just your brain making it up. You've seen millions of hours of footage of movies and this and that and whatever, and you put these
Right.
things
No,
together.
that's because Joe eats before he goes to bed. That's why he has bleed through dreams.
He's the
Because he's eating
spicy
before he goes to
meatballs.
bed. No, it's anything. It's cake.
No, but
it's
did
anything.
you have to remember, back in pagan times, back in ancient times, they believed it was Christmas, not Halloween, guys, that it was Christmas time where your loved ones and the veil was the thinnest and your loved ones would come and they would prepare for their arrival.
Yep. So did
You
my
know?
mom.
On the show last night, I shared all the stories about Santa Claus, the whole bit, and they're all based in paranormal, every last one of them.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
Yeah.
think about, Santa Claus is this immortal being that can travel through time and space, basically. And, I mean, he's supernatural, if you
Well,
believe in that term.
obviously, he's doing all the houses. Just
Krampus,
saying.
you got Krampus,
No, it's
who-
true. There's a
who-
lot of really great.
who would torture the kids. But
Yeah,
every
but
story,
there's always an opposite, right?
but then look at religions. The whole Catholic thing and Jesus or whatever, and Christianity who turned water into wine and all that. There's magic
Smart people.
laced
Mhm.
all through there,
There
but they don't want to
is.
say that. They don't admit it.
There
It's
is.
not magic. It's a miracle. There's a
Mm.
It
difference.
is.
It's a
But you know
miracle.
what? Even the Victorians were huge into ghost stories at Christmas.
Right?
They would gift them. You would gift a ghost story as a gift, as opposed to a present. That would
Yeah.
be
That
the
was
gift.
Dickens, right?
Macabre
1880.
cards. Yeah,
1880. All those stories.
big time. The Victorians were huge
Oh,
into it.
fairy tales are not
Yeah.
fairy tales. Just
There's a town
Um,
in upstate New York, Scaney Atlas Lake, and they have people performing Dickens on the street all throughout the Christmas
I think
season.
that's awesome, though. I
Real,
love
real
it.
cool.
That was a dark tale, but people love it. There are all kinds of books out there just like it. Beverly says, while you're grieving, you just really want to see your loved one.
So
Trickster
Christmas
comes
was
out
stolen
and something else. Be careful.
from
Yes,
Yule,
please be
from the
careful.
winter solstice. They
Very
stole
important.
it like everything else, and they're calling it Christmas.
The what? The Yule. What's different? Yule is
It's
different.
thievery.
Yeah, Yule
You
is
know what's
different.
different? People get to sell their crap at the end of the year. They blackmail you into doing it. Buy your kids all kinds of crap. You buy them thousands of bucks worth of crap, and then there's still rotten kids at the end of the day. And then what do you do with it?
My kids were never rotten.
My
Never
kid
mind.
is not rotten.
Definitely not
You
rotten.
pay it
Not
off the
spoiled.
rest of the year is what you do. My friend last year was like, "Oh, Christmas is killing me. It's so expensive." I'm like, "You need a new religion." You know what I mean? Find some cheaper religion. There are.
It's not all about
Buddhism's
that.
super
Not
cheap.
all about money.
You can't get a buck out of a Buddhist. Not a buck. Mainly
Okay,
because they don't have any bucks.
email Michael.
Yeah, he gets the hate mail, not us. See, hey, we're being
Email
David ourselves
Michael.
right now.
I'd like to back it just a little bit back to how they prepared for the end of the year and for the loved ones coming. My mom used to put out fruit and nuts and chocolate, and I know that my brother's former mother-in-law, they were German, and they did the same, and that was like an offering to them to come and join.
It's an international thing. It
Yeah.
was everywhere. But Christmas was full of dark tales. You know, like you're getting into a lot of really old dark tales and origins. And I always go back to you know, the what was it? The Norse tales of Odin and his, what was it? What do they call it, Michael? Do you remember the dark?
You mean Krampus?
No.
No.
It was the, oh God, people help me out.
I don't know the name, but I can see the face.
Help me out. It'll come to me. It's what basically how they came up with the 8 reindeers, because he had Odin had an 8-legged steed rather. And they would go around gathering up, you know, naughty children. And I mean, God, that's horrific.
There you go.
That gave Krampus a run for his money, let me tell you what. And basically the children would gather up hay to feed the horse, while Odin went in through a fireplace, kind of like Santa Claus, and he would leave gifts. And if you weren't good, you got coal. Doesn't it sound a little bit like, you know, like it seems that some religions have just taken from a lot of these cultural stories?
Absolutely.
And
as an investigator, the one thing that I've surmised from everything you just said is that kids are rotten all the way through generations after generations. They needed those characters to keep them in line. Well, yeah, you mess up, Krampus is going to come and cut your thumbs off.
They do say that they told these stories for that reason, but let me give you this one. In Italy, there are 3 types of Christmases.
Uh-oh.
Okay, there's a saint before Christmas. I believe it's the month before. I can't remember the name of the saint, but there's a gift. Then there is, of course, Saint Nicholas, which is Babbo Natale, Father Christmas.
That's right.
We don't call him Saint Nicholas; we call him Father Christmas. And in January, on the Epiphany, you get La Befana, who actually looks like a hag, walks through, and she will leave you nuts and fruits and at your door. But if you're bad, you got coal.
You know what? I know a woman that did that for me, and I called the police instead because it was very weird that she was coming by my apartment and leaving nuts and stuff out there. You know, it's a very weird feeling. Notes on my windshield type of thing.
No, she doesn't. Nobody had a car then, so they didn't.
The South Amityville police
on the head of the horse or the donkey.
South Amityville police, when they showed up, all we did was talk about the Amityville Horror House and their experiences there.
They still practice this today. They still practice that.
You would think now. I mean, if modern
what a party pooper!
Really?
Yeah, Mama.
I'm 17% German. Germans have cautionary tales for children. I mean,
sure they do.
The world all over.
Oh my God, there are so many ancient tales going back. I mean, a child would be traumatized right now.
The real Cinderella, they actually chopped the sister's foot to fit into the shoe. Like, we want to go back to the originals. They would tell these stories to children so that they'd be afraid to come out of bed, and they would stay in bed because it was actually dangerous, because oftentimes they were in lofts. So that's where that started. But anyways,
I didn't believe in Santa Claus. My mom taught me to be logical. I was real young, and I already had in my brain that there's no such thing. Ain't coming down a chimney. It was my mom who bought these gifts.
What do you mean there's no Santa?
No Santa. That's right.
You
heard it here first, kids.
No, there's a Santa. There's a Santa in every one of us.
There's one in every mall trying to sell that junk.
You're a
Take it
liar.
back.
It wasn't plausible. Just put it
You're
that
a
way.
liar. There's Santa.
Even in my young child
You're a
life, it
liar.
We
wasn't
have a
I
disclosure
see
here on the
evidence
outer
of
realm. The
Santa.
opinions of our guests are not necessarily the opinions.
There
of
is
our
a
host.
Santa. Yes, Dave. Santa also means holy. Santa
Oh,
means
that's right.
saint. Yeah. Santa actually means saint in Italian, but there is a Santa Claus, and I don't care what you say. I see him. Just saying.
and I'll
I
take
see
that
him.
coal
I see
because
Santa.
coal is worth some good money.
No, I see
You
it
know that
different. I see it as
coal will give you light in the middle
spiritual.
of the night.
I see it as spiritual. I see the spirit of Christmas in people.
Right, right.
So
Yeah.
if you want,
Phil's going to be getting
so
hate mail from all
mainly
the
you're talking
kids who
about
believe in
Yule,
Santa. No, Michael is. Michael
the
Angley.
spirit of Yule, the winter solstice, which is the rebirth of
Right.
the sun,
That's right.
and recognizing that, and then these religious people came along and took it and just shifted it into what they want. If you want to talk about Jesus's birth, I mean, we
Oh,
can talk about that all night long.
we could do all of that. Yeah, no, I know.
So I mean,
There's a whole other. That's a whole other show, which we don't.
I
Have
like to
time for.
celebrate the season, you know.
No, it's
And
true. No, I've researched all that. We've done that on the gray zone. That stuff I've had filed away for a long time. People would, and again, we're just a messenger, but people would really be surprised at all the old how religion came into being.
half my family is Orthodox, you know, like
Right.
they were Slavic, so I mean
Yeah.
they're so like sort of Russian, but sort of
But
not, you know.
hardcore,
Yeah, beautiful
the
churches.
Orthodox, right?
Yep. Yeah, you
Yeah,
know
very
what?
much so.
I think it has more of a respect for the season. You know, the
Right.
light. It's all about lights and all that. And it was real nice, and
Yeah.
you know,
No.
leavened bread. People have their traditions, you know.
It's beautiful traditions. I love old European
But I'm also
traditions.
like, you know, big chunk of me is also Italian, and then
Mm.
but like most of our family is from northern Italy, and that's kind of funny because it was fairly close to Croatia, you know,
Right.
that whole region.
Oh,
But
Lombardy and Liguria. Yeah.
so we had all the Italian traditions growing up for Christmas. It was a big deal, you
Mhm.
know.
Well, Croatia was Italy, and they lost it.
Mm.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
mean, and then you celebrate the season, the flavors, and you know the stuff. I mean, recipes passed down and passed down. My mom made tons of Christmas cookies, everything you can imagine, and
Mhm.
we made
Croatians
plates
make amazing cookies.
in the day on Christmas Eve. Like early in the day, we'd be out delivering cookies to friends and people and all that. And
Mhm.
those are all good memories, man. It was all like she was a giver, you know. And
Mhm.
that's how you have to celebrate. You can't think about, you know, they're gone. You got to think about honoring them, you know,
Mhm.
and going forward, and you're going
Mhm.
to see them again.
Yeah.
It may not be in the time that you want, but that's not how the universe works.
Right.
No.
You know,
And
Right.
pay attention.
you
You
can't
have
rush things.
no.
Right.
Pay attention.
Well, a few months ago, I was in a terrible place, just mentally. Not with work, everything was good. You know, I mean, like I said, I enjoy what I do, and but I was just missing my mom and just down, down, down. I didn't even know how I was going to get through a freaking Thanksgiving and all. And I worked on that day, and you know, I did a show that night, and that helps you focus against that empty space. That's
Mhm.
really what it is. It's a war within yourself, you know,
Mm.
because they're already gone. They already crossed over. I mean, you know, so as for you, it's more about what you want for yourself, and you know, you
Well,
want
you're the
that
one that's left
presence.
behind, right?
Yeah. So in the world of Taoism, like death is going home and life is having to leave home. You know,
Mm.
that's really how it's viewed overall, and you know, that's just a condensed versions. But like a lot of cultures look into that too, the same
Mhm.
type of feeling. But does that make you feel any better? No. All the
Mhm.
wisdom in the world doesn't make you feel any better. I'm trying to avoid Christmas movies or anything that reminds me of any of that. You know,
But shouldn't you? I mean, if you have good memories of watching Christmas movies with your mom, shouldn't that bring you comfort?
it's
Doing
more about
something that
stuff
you
that
did with your
reminds me
loved
of
one?
her. It's
Right.
not really stuff we
Mm.
watched maybe as a kid, like the Rudolph the
Right.
Red-Nosed Reindeer stuff, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I watched Christmas with the Cranks and I laughed my head off. I actually really loved that because it took me away for, that hour and a half from the stress and the sadness.
watch
I
horror
try to watch
movies.
the silly ones. I
I
watch
watch
horror
horror
movies
movies
now
for
as
Christmas.
well. Yeah.
Christmas is horror movies.
Look, if you're going back to the old cultures, absolutely. But that's what you did with your mom. I would say for sure, do whatever it is that makes you feel close to your
I used
loved
to
one.
like, you know what? She did like the old Alfred Hitchcock. There was
Yeah,
a movie like, and then there were none, like
yeah,
that type of thing, suspenseful, and I'd watch that with her. But the black and white movies, you were
right,
young, you know,
right.
and
I won't be
yeah,
watching A Christmas Carol this year with Alistair. Well, it's like he
I'd be
was
sitting there
my
hiding my eyes at the suspenseful moments, you know, where the music kicks in, that organ in
Mm,
the background, and you know that something's going to happen,
mm.
that type of stuff. But
So
then
fun.
after that, not long after, I was laughing at you know, these things like The Exorcist, when people were running out and screaming in pain. I was laughing my ass off. That was the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
I watched Rosemary's Baby a week ago and I just died. I couldn't believe that was the horror flick of the time. I was
Mm.
laughing so
I know,
hard.
right?
We're nearing the end of the show, so final thoughts. Michael, tell everybody how to find you. What you
United
got
Public
coming up?
Radio Network every Thursday and Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And then, I don't know, listen to both shows. I mean, one's the paranormal, the science of paranormal. We get into a lot of cool, deep stuff, philosophy type of stuff too. And then always questioning everything all the time. And then the Red Pill News, just take the red pill, it opens up your eyes. And that's what's going on
Like
today.
Matrix, open up your
The
eyes.
red pill.
Right. So,
So take
okay.
the red pill.
So I'm going to sign us off. Everybody sit tight. We have come to the end of another fantastic segment here on the Outer Realm. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Thanks to everybody in chat. We really love seeing your comments and your participation in the show. We do try to get back to everyone. It was a touching show when we tried to, just keep it interesting. Zachman says, love seeing you, Mike. Much love to your brother. Have a good night, everybody. See you all tomorrow. Sean, do you guys have a list of upcoming events? Well, you can find us. You can find us here every Wednesday and Thursday night. You can find Joe Montaldo and I on Saturdays, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern, if my memory serves me correctly. But anyway, we're going to finish the sign off. So thank you, Michael Angley. You're always a lot of fun, and we really appreciate you sharing your thoughts. Both of you sharing your thoughts on, dealing with the loss of a loved one over the holidays. It's a difficult time for many, many people, and it's always nice to see people be a little more open about it, because it's not an easy thing to do. So I commend you both for that.
Well, I have to say, Amelia, let me see your nails, man. I want to see that. I want to see a beautiful
Okay,
nail.
after we close.
After we close, so as I'm still
Although her
going,
son too.
hello, still talking here. So again, huge thank you to Folgers Coffee for sponsoring the show tonight and every night. We appreciate you so much. Also, a big thank you to Dr. Snick, aka Justin Snicker, for providing us with your music and your voice for the intro and outro. We're so appreciative of your generous contribution. So please remember to head over to the YouTube pages, which is International Public Radio, UFO Gods and Paranormal, UFO Paranormal Radio. Subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe to the group page, The Outer Realm, on Facebook. Give us a like, please. If you need to contact us for any reason, please go over to the Outer Realm contact at gmail.com. Again, the Outer Realm contact at gmail.com. Tune in tomorrow evening as we welcome for the very first time Dr. Peter Panagore. And he's going to be discussing near-death experiences, reincarnation, and heaven, and so much more. So until then, we thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow evening. Good
You have have been listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano, airing live every Wednesday and Thursday evening, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 to 10 p.m. Central, on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.